It's time for the Fort Mill Magazine podcast.
It's August 1st, 2012. I'm Tracy Roman.
And I'm Emily Wyatt, and today we are interviewing the one and only Brooke Josa.
Very excited to talk to Brooke again. We recently did a photo shoot with her.
And she was amazing.
Amazing. I think Fort Mill can be very proud to recognize this young model who started out in modeling in the Charlotte area, and now she's like traveling all over the place.
Yeah, her story is actually pretty cool, and it's very interesting to hear how she got into modeling. So I'm excited to talk to her.
Right, and she's really kind of she's got quite a bit of experience behind her. She's already been doing it for 4 years now.
Yeah, since she was 16.
Yeah, so she's only 20, but she's got a lot of experience already. So
yeah.
It's great for young girls who might want to learn more about modeling to listen in.
Definitely. You know, if you want behind-the-scenes footage of the shoot that we did with Brooke a couple weeks ago, you can't see any of the pictures yet because they're going to be in the fall issue. But if you want to see behind-the-scenes footage and what we did and how we worked with everything, you can go to our Facebook page.
Right.
Or you can go to the YouTube channel.
Right. Fort Mill Mag is a YouTube channel.
Yep.
And also to fortmillmagazine.com.
Yes.
Because you created a video behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Video.
It's a whole video blog of the experience. It was something else to see all the props that we used.
We had some good fortune for that particular photo shoot, and of course they'll get to see the full-blown spread in our fall issue, which comes out in September.
And I've already made it, and I can say that it is a very, very pretty spread.
Very pretty.
Very pretty.
I'm so excited.
Yay! So just tell us who you are.
My name is Brooke Josa. I am a professional model, and I was born in Houston, Texas, but my family moved to Fort Mill probably when I was 6. But I first got into modeling when I was 16, and I signed with my local agency, Evolution, which I'm sure you guys probably have heard of. But
yes.
I never knew I really wanted to model. It's just one of those things that was, you grow up and you're like fascinated by it, and you're watching America's Next Top Model, and you're like, oh, maybe I could do that. And then, you know, you're like, I'm a little short. I was like 5'1", and
when you were 16?
No, I was like a little taller. I was probably like 5'8" or 5'9", and
just a little taller.
So when
I
you
grew so
were
fast.
5'1", though, is when you started thinking about it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I was thinking about it, and my sister actually came over, and she was like, hey, Mom, I kind of want to try modeling, and she'd bring over the computer and be like, look at this site, you know, they just sent it a few photos, and, you know, it's one of those non-legit sites that are really bad, and my mom was like, no way, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I kind of want to try that, Mom. Can I try that someday? And she's like, yeah, Brooke, you can try it one day. I think mothers just know. They have an instinct. And I used to swim, and one of the Olympians, Mark Gangloff, came to my high school, Nation Ford High School practice. Mm-hmm. And he brought his gold medal. And at the end, they were taking pictures, and I just was like, okay, I'll get a picture. And so I was holding his medal, and I was smiling, and they ended up choosing that picture for the Fort Mill Times, and that was a big deal. And when that came out, everyone would go to school, they're like, I saw your picture, it was so awesome. And I was like, thank you. And my mom said when she saw that picture, she was like, you were so photogenic, and I just knew that you were going to do modeling.
Wow.
And I was in high school, and it's actually a really silly story, but I hated doing projects and waking up early and homework. It was awful, and I would come home with swim practice, get out of swim practice at 8 o'clock every night, and I would come home, eat, shower, and I'd have to do my homework, and I would fall asleep on the couch every single night. And one evening, I was doing a project that I had to present later that week, and That's like, I hate doing that. I was so nervous, and I don't know why. But, I was like,
international model.
I know, but little did I know. But, and my mom would always kid. I was actually homeschooled in middle school, and I went back to high school. And my mom would always kid. She'd always be like, you can get homeschooled again. And I'm like, no way, Mom. I'm not going to get homeschooled again. And this one evening, she was kidding, and she was laughing. And I took like 2 or 3 seconds. And I was like, really? And my face was just completely serious. I was like, really? Can I? And she was like, are you serious right now? And she was like giggling, and I was like, do I have to go back to school tomorrow? And it was all based off of not wanting to like present that project, which is really silly. But I was like, I could start modeling too. Because my mom always told me, I don't think that you can do modeling and be in school. You'd have to be homeschooled. And I'm like, Mom, I would just do local modeling. And she's like, no, you're going to be traveling like everywhere. Right. I'm like, no, I'm not.
And Mom was right, wasn't she?
She was right. She was right. And so I went back to school for like 2 or 3 days, never had to present that project, and then it came back later to get me. It did, and I knew it. I was in bed that night, and I was like, it's going to come back to get me. And so after that, probably a month later, after I was homeschooled, I went to the open call for Evolution in Charlotte, and they signed me on the spot, and we were just so excited, and I didn't know what to expect. And
let's talk a little bit about that. Because there's probably other young girls out there who were toying with the idea as well of modeling, and you had mentioned that there are some sites out there that are not reputable. So what kind of things do young girls need to be careful of, and how did you find out about this open call and know that, okay, this is a legitimate place to go?
I think a few of our family friends had recommended a couple of agencies locally. But a lot of people need to watch out for agencies that try to trap you into paying them first, or to, buy like classes and training. And I mean, that's okay. That's good. But you want an agency that falls in love with you and wants you and to sign you for free. And then they can train you, and it's up to you.
But isn't there some kind of financial obligation first, like in order to go to this kind of open call? Don't you have to have like comp cards or something like that you have to pay to have made?
You don't have to. When I went to my open call, they just asked for if you had a comp card, but they just asked for like a headshot, just like a digital headshot if I had one. So I just printed out a picture that I took of myself with a digital camera, walked in there, I brought like 5, and she picked whatever she wanted. And so you don't have to, but eventually you have to invest in if you want to, succeed and go far.
But once you're already signed and you've got kind of at least a good base for...
And they help you, like they have lots of advice, and, I trust them. They're actually my mother agency now. Mm-hmm. But that's definitely one thing girls should watch out for, and their parents. So they should want you as much as you want to be with them. Right. Because then you'll know they'll work for you and that they are legit. And
so did you have to go through any kind of model training once you were signed with Evolution?
I did. And, it happened all so quickly. I had just invested in my first photo shoot to get my portfolio started. And right after that, they called me in the office, and they're like, Brooke, and they called in probably about 5 to 10 people, and they're like, we have this convention called Talent Inc. every year, or maybe twice a year, and like, we are giving you guys a scholarship to this convention. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have been able to go, not at least for a few years. I would have had to save up for it. I didn't even know about it yet. I was just, fresh, brand new, and I was just like, this is really happening, they see this in me, and like the doors were opening, just flying open. I was like, this is meant to be, so we had to go through training. They call that model boot camp. So it was really funny. And they trained us in monologues. They trained us in like acting skits. They trained us in commercials. They trained us in runway walking and how to be photogenic, how to carry yourself, how to interview. And so
that all happened in-house with Evolution. They paid for that, or they paid for you to go somewhere else to do it?
They trained us, and they paid for me, which was such an honor. and I was so nervous. And you got to choose whatever you wanted to do at the convention, which was held in Orlando a few months after that. And so I chose like all the runway things, and I actually chose to do a commercial, which I knew that was when it was going to come back, and I would have to say that in front of hundreds of people. I was very nervous, but I learned a lot, got through it, did really well, and that's when my mom went with me, and that was when they have all these acting agencies and modeling agencies from around the country, and there's about 21 judges, and they all sit in front, and they all watch everybody. And then on the very last day, there's this huge room, and they're all sitting at their little tables representing their agencies. And you walk in there, and if you got a call back for them, you go and meet with them. And that's when I met my New York agency, Wilhelmina. And he was there, and he was like, if I could take you home today and put you in my suitcase, I would. And he offered me a contract on the spot, which wasn't allowed. And I was like, oh my gosh. And my mom and I were just like so shocked. And after that, my mother agency, Evolution, set me up with appointments in New York with the top agencies. So my mom and I went, and we met with every single one of them, which was crazy, but amazing. And from there, we narrowed it down who I wanted to sign with. But it was pretty clear to me who I clicked with the most. And, you know, you want to sign with an agency that is going to work for you and loves you, sees that potential in you. And when we went to New York, they were pretty much the only agency that took us in a separate room, sat us down for about like an hour, and told us all about the industry, what to look out for, what they see me doing. And that meant a lot to my mom and I, you know, because they were looking out for me.
Right.
So,
Yeah. So you went to New York with Evolution, like Evolution came to represent you?
Yes, they did.
And then you met with all these other big agencies.
Yes.
So, like, how many did you scour through before you made that final decision?
I think I met with 14 agencies.
Wow.
I think so, but it was actually tied. Do you guys know Brooklyn Decker? She's actually from Charlotte.
It rings
She
a bell.
was signed. She's a Sports Illustrated model, but she was
Yeah.
signed. She's married to Andy Roddick.
Okay.
But she is signed with Evolution as well, and they're still her mother agency.
Okay.
And when she was 16, the same thing happened, and she had the same number of, I guess, callbacks or in New York. So it was an honor to be like tied with that many.
Right.
And out of that, I got 2 contracts, which I'm actually very happy about because it helped narrow down like what agency was meant to be, because I wanted it to be clear and not, you know, be signed with someone that turned out to be like not really that interested in me and didn't take care of me, but Wilhelmina really babies me.
Right.
And they look out for me, and I can go in there and talk to them for like an hour.
So when you say you have 2 contracts, you've got a contract with your mother agency, which is Evolution here in Charlotte.
Yes.
And then you have this other contract with Wilhelmina in New York City. And do they work together when they assign things, or separately? Like, do they like Evolution has things for jobs for you to go on that Wilhelmina is not aware of, or do they always have to be in communication with each other?
They don't always have to be in communication with each other. I think that they trust each other's opinion. And I feel like New York has more of a say-so, but not necessarily when it comes to what if they want to send me internationally, because I can always go to my mother agency, and if I don't want to go somewhere, I can talk to them and be like, I don't really, you know, I don't know if this is such a good idea. And so they can always kind of talk to each other and come to an agreement if that were to happen. But if I'm home and I'm working, then it's pretty much just up to Evolution to take care of me. And New York is always working on me, and if I book a job, then I'll fly up and work for that. So,
and so Wilhelmina would book you for just stuff within the United States, or could they possibly send you to, say, Paris?
They could. They definitely could.
So you don't have to have an international agent as well, then?
No, you don't. I actually flew to Sweden a couple months ago, and I'm actually signed with Wilhelmina in Miami and LA, and I was able to go to Miami and spend an amazing season there. And through Wilhelmina Miami, I actually booked a job in Sweden. The client came over to Miami and met with them, and so I didn't necessarily have to be signed with an agency over there to go work in another country.
What did you do in Sweden?
I did an online catalog for Nelly.com. So it was really fun. They're really sweet people.
Well, and the other thing that we noticed is you're like the face of Delia's.
Yeah, I love Delia's.
I haven't been to the South Park Mall Delia's since I found out about, and I saw some of the pictures from their online catalog. But have you been there? Do they have your full body shot on the window?
I think so. My friend in California took a picture, and apparently I was on, I guess, a main picture in California. So I'm like really curious to see if it's,
at the South Park Mall.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. I actually had been on one of their posters before, but it was with, I think, 3 other girls.
Right.
And so to be alone, it's just really cool. It never gets old walking in there and knowing the people that work there. And it's really
That's
nice.
me.
No, I would never do that, but they
would.
just know.
We would. I know that girl.
They're just so sweet anyways. And when you go in there, and I was checking out like the very first time, and I was just kind of through the catalog. And she had already been helping me like try on clothes, and I was like, I just held up the picture to my head, and I did the same smirk, and she was looking, and she was like, no way. She was like, oh my gosh, and she was just smiling. She didn't even know what to say, but ever since then, they all, follow my career, and it means a lot to me that people, follow me and what I'm doing.
Really cool.
But
do you get like discounts on clothing?
No,
when you do
I
anything?
don't.
Okay. Now, the other thing I wanted to ask you, and I think inquiring minds want to know, all girls in America want to know, do the models get to leave with the clothing from the photo shoot?
It depends on the client. Sometimes they pay you in all clothes. Sometimes they pay you in some clothes and just,
Cash.
money.
So that's part of the
or none.
negotiation in the beginning of the job, how you're going to get paid.
Yeah, I guess it's just up to the client, but I've actually only gotten paid in clothes probably a few times, maybe 3 or 4 times. out of
Clothes
a
don't
few
pay
years.
rent, so.
Right.
Nope, it's true, but it is cool to have pieces and have them as memories.
Yeah.
But also I wanted to say, like, working for Delia is an honor to be able to be, a good example for, like, little young girls
Young
out there.
girls, definitely.
To be able to start doing that kind of modeling and appeal to a younger generation, I think that means a lot to me. And it just sets up my whole career for, the older I get, I can start doing older things.
And I think you mentioned before to us that you had a friend who was interested in doing like modeling for Victoria's Secret, but you said that wasn't something that you would be interested in doing.
It's a shock. I mean, whatever is meant to be for me, but it's not my dream because I don't want to I don't want to be looked at that way. But I think my dream job is probably something with beauty, like probably a Maybelline makeup or something along those lines. But Victoria's Secret, I want to be different, and so
I mean, it's not that you would say absolutely no. You'd consider it if they came to you and they said,
I would consider it. Yeah,
we're going to pay you $1 million
well,
to wear the diamond-studded bra.
Oh my gosh! Well, you never know. I think that they would just have to know me as a person and respect, my values because it's tough, and you just want to be careful about that and being looked at that way because I'm just not. I'm different. I think there are other ways to succeed than society portrays it these days because women are looked at just, it's sad, but there are other ways to succeed in a good way.
So you were signed with Evolution at 16?
Yes.
And you're how old now?
I'm 20.
So far you've done fashion shoots in Miami, New York City, Sweden. Was there anything else? Any other places?
What were your favorites?
Oh, my favorites. Oh my gosh, you're killing me.
And you don't have to say us because we know that you were your favorite.
Fort Mill magazine was definitely not my favorite. I'm just kidding. You guys definitely were. Like, it's just the simple things, It's just when you click with people you're working with.
Right.
And I think
and
that
they feed
means
you.
And they feed me. I think that means the most because sometimes you're on sets and it's like, okay, let's talk to each other, you guys. No, but whenever they play music and have fun, like I always have fun at Delia's. Like play music, good food, you know, good friends, just a lot of laughter, and also being able to travel to different places and, you know, just be outside. I love being outside and working with props. And
which the Delia shoot, was that in a studio? Or?
Yeah, it was in a studio.
Right.
But it was in like a really cool studio, so you can shoot with, you know, different things like ladders or by windows. And
right.
I like shooting in studio, but I think my favorite is probably outside.
Right.
I don't know why, but it is.
Which, so our listeners are not aware, since the fall issue hasn't come out yet, and it's still, you know, kind of top secret. But we did have a photo shoot with you recently. So do you want to talk a little bit about that without like giving it all away?
Okay, I'll try. Well, we did a photo shoot, and can I say what we were shooting with?
Sure.
Okay. Well, we were shooting with vintage airplanes, and I'm not exactly sure the brand or the name, which is...
But that was a first for you, right?
It was a first for me. I got to get in the plane and, like, maneuver it around, and I was actually moving things, and I didn't know. And I put on the headphones, and I was like, this is the coolest, hands down, the coolest prop I had ever worked with on a photo shoot.
Right.
And to be with these cute little cars, and I just felt like I went back in time.
Yeah.
And I hope that's what...
And we kept mentioning Sophia Loren.
I know you did.
And I wasn't sure if you even knew who Sophia Loren was, but
I don't think so.
Maybe. Yeah, we can. I think you were definitely somehow
you were channeling
connected.
her.
You were channeling Sophia Loren.
She's an older, it's an older era.
Yeah,
right?
she is a well-known actress, and probably none of the movies that you've ever seen. But yeah, she's still, I don't know how old she is now, but she's still alive, and she's still considered one of the top all-time beauties, kind of up there with Elizabeth Taylor, who passed away recently.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
But yeah, there were several shots of you that I definitely was thinking, oh my gosh, Sophia Loren.
I think I have gotten that before, but I never got a chance to actually look her up. But that's really different because it's just, you get the usual things. And sometimes you don't agree and you're like, how could I? But you never know because everyone has their own opinion and who you remind them of. But
yeah, and I think that the photos that I've seen of you, you've got a range of looks.
Yeah.
And, you know, we were definitely going for the vintage styling.
I was so excited about
And I think with the little car, I don't know where the little car was from, but it was definitely coming across more of a European kind of setting. Yeah. Which was cool.
My agency calls what I have ethnically ambiguous.
Oh, that's a good word for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been really cool because whatever the client wants, they can make me into that. And I've gotten, you know, so many guests like, what's your ethnicity? And I'm like, guess. I do that to everyone because you never know, and I get something different every time.
Right.
And it's, you know, amazing. I'm like, wow, like, that's just crazy how people can see that. Mm-hmm. But it's a way to appeal to more people, and I really...
Yeah, because when we were looking at your Miami shoot, we were watching that behind-the-scenes video, and I mean, you looked very Latina.
Yeah.
And then in our shoot, it was very, very just classic vintage. It was, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's you know, it's whatever they want, and it's
you
cool.
were also on the cover of an R. Kelly album or something?
I don't think I was on the cover, but I did a shoot with R. Kelly, which was an experience.
Was that in New York City?
No, that was in Miami.
Oh, that was in Miami. And
I actually got to do it with one of my best friends. She's like my sister, and another girl that we were close with already, and it was really fun. Silly story, but we took a break for about a couple hours. It was a really late night shoot, but it was really fun. And they're like, you guys can go take a break and come back. And so we were walking away, and I guess R. Kelly thought that we weren't coming back, and so he had his, like, I think his uncle literally run after us around the street and around the corner. And he was like, hey, I'm sorry, but R. Kelly wanted to give you his number, and whenever you guys, and we were like, what? You ran all the way after us? And it was really silly, but it's been really, really awesome to be able to meet, so many people. And for me to be able to be a light to so many people, I think that's probably the biggest, the main reason why I'm doing this. Right. Is to be an example to everyone I meet, older, younger, even if they're celebrities, just, you want to stay grounded because my industry can be very dark, but, I know it was meant to be for me because I've grown stronger as a person through this. And so that's what keeps me going.
Right.
Good for you.
Oh, thank you.
What else you got?
I had another. You mentioned before, so it's not just like print and runway, but then there's also possibly acting.
Yeah, you were in a Jimmy Johnson commercial.
I was.
And what about music
I've been
videos?
I was in a music video. They're actually my really good friends now, Young the Giant. If you don't know them, look them up. But I was in their music video Apartment for their song Apartment, and I got to hang out with them in LA, and we were on a road trip, and the song was based on like friends getting together, going on a road trip. But I've been in their music video. It was my dream to be in a music video, and I hope to be in more.
What was the name of that group again?
Young the Giant.
And what was the name of the video or the name of the song?
Apartment.
Okay.
They're a great group of gentlemen.
And that was shot in L.A.
That was shot in LA. Well, all up California, in the desert, on the beach. We went sand surfing.
Wow.
And it was so much fun. But it would be great to be in more music videos. I'd like to be like that main featured girl, like a cute love story. I think that would be really sweet.
Right.
Or acting. Yeah, acting. I would love to get into acting. People have told me you should go into acting, and I'm like, really? My mom actually always thought I would be an actress when I was a kid because, like, my sister and I would be doing a skit in front of our whole family, and I would pretend, I guess, in the skit that I got hurt, and so just fall on the floor, and I would pretend like I was crying. And, like, everyone would get up and run to me because they believed that I was really hurt. And my mom loves telling that story. And she was like, you were just so dramatic. And I thought that you were going to be an actress.
Got a touch of trauma.
But yeah, I would love to be an actress, to be in movies. But I need training, and that will come because I'm really happy with modeling as it is right now. But I think it's a way to get into acting, and it's just all really exciting.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
It's crazy.
You got some singing in there too, maybe?
I love to sing,
I
actually. but I, that. But you never know. I'm just saying one thing at a time, okay?
Baby steps.
Baby steps. That is true. I'll just keep it to myself. No.
And you're going to keep Fort Mill as home base. I know you spend lengths of time because you mentioned when you're in New York you have like a model's apartment, or in Miami you have a model's apartment that you live in for that season, which could be several months, correct?
Yeah.
But you always plan on having your home base here in Fort Mill, we hope?
Yeah, my home is wherever my family is to me, but Fort Mill and the surrounding areas, it's always going to be where I grew up. And so that can never be taken away from me. And I'm always going to want to come back here no matter where, I move or where my family moves. I'm going to miss it here because it's just where I grew up. So many memories, the back roads, just the simple things.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we hope that whenever you're back in town that you're going to, touch base with us and keep us in the loop because we definitely want to follow your career.
Thank you so much.
As far as like print and runway and the videos and all of that stuff, when you're negotiating with you're going to use the same agent, or you do use the same agent for all of those types of things, correct? Mm-hmm. So when they're negotiating, do you get paid differently depending on what you have to do?
Yep, it's different pretty much every time.
So is print, do you make more money at one versus the other? Like would print or runway be a better money-making kind of thing?
I think print would probably be more than runway. But, print, you never know because sometimes it could pay less. It just depends on the job.
Right.
Or if it's a half day. So, but generally I think print probably But commercials definitely are like top.
Commercials are top.
Yeah.
So wouldn't video be even more then? Like a music video?
Probably around the same.
Oh, okay.
I guess.
So I guess commercial because you're promoting a product.
Yeah, and your face is like really out there. And
Right.
also, if you're lucky and they pay you every time it premieres, like on TV, that's
And that's what
awesome.
your agency does for you. They negotiate all those little caveats to
They do. Yeah.
the deal.
It depends on the client. I think that they kind of maybe throw out a price, and my agency, they're like, no, that's too low, or not. And it also depends on how established you are in your career, how established that girl is in her career.
Right.
And then as more experienced she is, I think the more your rate goes up, which is cool.
Right. But you've got like 4 years under your belt now.
I know.
So you're like a pro.
I am a pro. No, I try. You learn something new every shoot, and I still get nervous over the smallest, littlest things, which I think is good because
Right.
I care a lot and I want to do well and I want to shine through every picture.
Mm-hmm.
And waking up early, sometimes it's hard, but you have to realize like how much of a blessing it is because it's once in a lifetime opportunity. People don't have this. People wake up every day to go work behind, just at a desk, a gas station. And
But there's a lot involved in being a model. I mean,
there is.
there's a lot of maintaining, like you mentioned,
That's true.
that you can't change your hair drastically, right? And of course you have to eat healthy and stay fit. So
That's true.
you're doing something every day to maintain this, right?
And a lot of people don't realize that. They're like, oh, it's so glamorous all the time and it's so easy and it is. It's glamorous. It has its moments, but at the same time, it has its lows. And,
Right.
You have to work hard every day. You have to eat right. You have to maintain, the way you look. And that's one thing about the industry that's hard because you're looked at for the way you look. And I just want to be looked at for who I am. And I feel like that I come off differently that way. And that you can, shine in that way. But you just have to stay strong and you have to know that like you're unique as a person and that no one can be like you.
Right.
And I think that's what keeps me strong is that when you walk into a room full of, beautiful women, you have to be strong in who you are and know that, if whatever's meant to be, I feel like every job is handpicked for me already.
Mm-hmm.
And I just have to go do my best, do the work and show up.
Right.
And if I don't get the job, just let it go because there's no use in holding on to something that, wasn't meant to be. And you never know, they might have been wanting like a blonde or a redhead for the shoot. And I'm sitting over here like, man, why didn't I get no? But you never know. It's little things like that. So you can't let it get to you. And you're like, okay, well, I'm on to the next thing. Sometimes my mom will be like, whatever happened to this casting that you went for? And I'm like, oh, that? I was like, that was so long ago. I let that go. Like, I'm on to this thing right now. So
there's lots of casting calls that you go to.
Mm-hmm.
So you spend a lot of time going to these.
Mm-hmm.
And so you might have to go to how many before you actually get a job?
Oh, man, it really depends. Sometimes, in New York, it's probably like averages 3 or 4 castings a day. And it can be hundreds of girls that go throughout, the hours in the day. And so it can be tough. And in Miami, it's more quiet and there's probably only about 5 castings a week. So can you imagine that? Like 3 or 4 castings a day to 5 a week.
And when you go to these castings, you're standing around for hours.
Sometimes you walk into the room, especially in New York, you like go up the elevator, you walk in, and they're already sitting at the desk and no one's there. And it's just, you have to be like, whew, and then walk in there and give them your book and, stand there and,
Can they ask you a couple of questions or something?
Yeah, they ask you a couple questions and that's pretty much it.
It's really a life of interviews.
It really is, yeah.
So that's awesome training. I mean,
it is awesome training.
People a lot of times forget, because especially with the technology the way it is, we are so used to just texting each other. And
well,
stuff.
they do have that. They call it direct booking, is where I might not have to go on a casting, but they do their secret work, and it's like they'll send me an email or call me and they're like, you booked this job, and I'm like, oh wow, that's amazing, because I didn't even meet with the client. And so it's good to know that my agency is always working on me and you know, wanting me to book jobs and go places, because for me to book jobs, it's for them as well,
Right.
and plus, you know, they want their girls to succeed. And
Sure.
so
recently, like after our photo shoot, I know you did something for Belk.
I did, yeah.
Is there anything else that you've done since we saw you last?
Not since you saw me. I think that was probably a couple weeks ago.
So do you have anything really exciting coming up that you can share with us?
Well, I'm planning my next adventure. I think I'm gonna probably spend my next season in New York City again. So I'm really looking forward to that, and you know, seeing what's out there for me, because I spent a long season in Miami, so it's been a while. And I was able to go work in New York a month ago and meet with my agency, because I miss them, and it's good to be there.
And you have family there, right?
I do. I have an uncle that lives in the city, and my grandparents live in Connecticut and New Jersey, so it's a good way to visit them. And, you know, you just learn a lot every time you go, and it stretches your faith, because when I'm with my family, it's hard to leave, but it's not goodbye. It's see you later. I say that to everybody, but it's tough, but, you know, you grow up fast, that's for sure. But it's a good thing.
Right.
If you can handle it, it's a good thing.
Right. So the whole idea that you have to be thick-skinned is still very true.
It's very true, but it's not as bad as it seems.
Right. You haven't really experienced anybody who was like totally vile to you.
As in, like, no.
Everybody's been
amazing and has treated me so well, and it's a huge blessing, because not everyone has it that way.
Yeah.
So,
well, as a mother, I can tell you that you know, when you're talking to other parents, you know, you hear all these horror stories, or
exactly.
you don't want your daughters to get into modeling because they're going to end up on drugs and you know, hurting themselves and all this kind of stuff because they can't handle that kind of environment. So it's good to see that there is a good side.
There is a good side.
You can have good people, but I think that's what the most important thing is, having a good agency.
Yeah.
Taking your time to select those people who are going to be looking out for you.
Yeah, that's true. I think if you do it for the right reasons, and for me it's greater purpose instead of doing it for yourself, because then I think that anything's possible that way. So that means a lot to me.
The only other thing that I can think of that we should touch on is Charlotte Fashion Week. You said that you participated in that before?
I did. I think that was my very first... Oh, no. It was my second runway, I guess, experience. And there was a few runway shows that I did. And that was right after I was signed with Evolution when I was 16 or 17. And so that was definitely an experience, and I'll never forget it. And I got a lot of training out of that, just doing runway. So you learn a lot, and it was really cool to be able to see international designers come over and just to get your name out there and network, because another thing about this industry is networking, and a lot of people don't know that, and I've gotten a lot of advice, and it's like, you never know who you're going to meet. You never know who they know, and if you're nice and you treat them well, you know, they could recommend you, and you never know what could happen.
And it's one of those things that happens, you know, from our perspective, you know, we're not in the fashion world. You know, all we know is really what we know from watching TV or the movies or whatever. So, is there a spring fashion week and then a fall fashion week? Is it something that happens 2 times a year?
Yeah, it's 2 times a year.
And it happens in certain cities, or does every city have?
I think it's more of a New York thing, like a New York Fashion Week where it's spring and fall.
And then also in Paris.
And Paris and London and Milan. And, but in Miami, they have like Swim Week, like Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week. And I think every city has its own like big fashion show.
Right. Or
series that they have.
Right.
So it's cool to be able to experience something different. And then they have shows throughout the year. Just designers come and they hold shows. And I had the honor of walking for Oscar de la Renta in Miami twice. And that was
That's phenomenal.
Thank you.
That really
Thank
is.
You. It was was a huge.
So, but how do you think we fare? I mean, since you've been to these other cities and experienced that, how do you think the Charlotte area fares with fashion? Do we know what we're doing here?
Yes, you guys do. I'm proud to represent Charlotte because people, they're like, where are you from? And I'm like, South Carolina. North Carolina, Charlotte. No, but, and then when you come, it's grown so much just in a matter of 5 years. And there's just there's a lot of great fashion. There's a lot of great shows every year. And I've been able to become friends with a lot of designers locally, and their designs are amazing. Like and photographers and stylists locally. Like there is a lot. There's a lot of talent here in Charlotte.
Good.
In models, I have a lot of friends from our town, like Charlotte, Matthews, Clover. So it's really fun and neat to be able to know people from your town and run into them and be like, we're from the same town and we're in New York together. Like, how cool is this? It's just one of those things,
Good.
You just feel connected to that person immediately because
Right.
you come from the same place. And
well, we're always developing the magazine, and we're definitely developing more for our Southern Style section to include fashion for each issue. So we're trying to get more educated on it.
Educated.
Yeah.
You guys are educated. Educated.
Yeah.
We can't help talk like that, It's awesome. I can come home and immediately I'm just like, I'll do that accent with my family.
Right.
And it's just silly and it's just who you are and it's funny. Can't help it.
Is there anything else that we should talk about? I think we've covered a lot.
Yay. Yeah.
Was there anything in particular that you wanted to get across? I think the part about encouraging girls and how the right way to go about it was a good.
Yeah, I mean that's something that means a lot to me because it's hard just if you're a young girl in high school or even if you're an adult and you're not satisfied with who you are as a person, then you're not going to be happy. And I've learned a lot. I've learned to be patient through all of this and be easygoing and not be stressed out because just something as simple as, like, my industry is so last minute and I could be on my way to a casting or a job and I'll get an email, not a call, an email. What if I didn't have service? And they're like, the address changed for your casting and it's moved to here. And it's like, I'll have my black book and I'll have written down all my directions from casting to casting. And it's like one casting changes, it messes up all, my timing because they're back to back a lot of times and you want to be there on time. And so things like that, you have to be like, okay, like no worrying, just go, just run, just do it. And so you learn a lot through that. But yeah, for young women, I feel like they should feel beautiful for who they are and that they shouldn't compare themselves to other people. And, with that, that means a lot to me. And that's one of the first things my agency told my mom and I was like, this industry is hard, it's tough. But, when you are with all these other people, just know that there's no one like you and that the biggest thing in this industry is don't compare yourself to any other girl. And for them to tell us that, it was just like, wow, like they can see that, and the industry is its own world. Like they're just so focused on fashion and this and that. And, but for them to see outside of that, because when you come home, it's just normal and it's like, life is amazing and it is amazing.
And a lot of the shoots, they're doing crazy stuff with your hair.
I know, right?
Crazy makeup. You might have feather eyelashes on.
I might.
It's really kind of like creating this art form or creating this character. But then when you're home, you're just Brooke.
Yep, I'm just me. I'm just the same me everywhere I go. Because a lot of people, when you're in an industry like this and you're from a small town, you're like, wow, oh my gosh, like she's doing big things. But I'm still the same as a person, and we're all just people.
Right.
And that's how a lot of people view celebrities, and I don't get it because, you know, everyone struggles with something. We're all human. It's
Yeah.
not like we're better than each other. Everyone's, you know, equal.
Right.
And we all deserve to be treated equal.
Mhm.
And so in my industry, that's when I want to show people and give advice. If anyone needs advice, you know, I'm always here. And I think a lot of people are shocked by that because, you know, I want people to know that I'm approachable and I'm honest and I want to help you in any area of life. So,
Well, on that note, if there is a young girl who is interested in going into modeling, do you have some suggestions of like websites or something that they could check out? Obviously, Evolution in Charlotte, but would you be open to have communication with them? Like,
of course, yeah.
do you have like a website of your own where people can contact you?
I have
or-
a page on Facebook under Brooke Josa, my name, and then I have a personal account, Brooke Josa. And so
they could reach out to you.
And
on
Twitter
either-
too, at Brooke Josa.
Oh, that's right.
Follow me.
Follow Brooke on Twitter.
No, but yeah, I'm always here for advice, and it makes me happy to help other people and to show them the right way to go, because
Right.
you never know.
Yeah, I think everybody, you know, I think that whenever you need to learn something, a teacher will appear.
Mm-hmm.
And then in turn, you will be the teacher for someone else.
Yeah,
And I believe like that's life's cycle, you know, and the sooner you get that and you embrace that, the better things will go, you know. So I think that you definitely could be a wonderful mentor to other young girls, because it's a scary, not just for the girls but for the parents, it's a scary thing to contemplate this modeling thing.
It is scary, and you know, my mom's always there for advice as well, but there is a lot that goes into the industry, and we didn't know very much, and you learn more and more like all the time, and it's crazy.
Right.
But yeah, it's been awesome, and I'm always here, and it's an honor to be able to teach people. For me, I get something back in return, and to be able to help them, because people will steer you the wrong way on purpose because they don't want you to succeed. But if someone's like, oh, I just got signed with this and my dream is to be this, like, you always want to be encouraging and be happy for them. And it's just really cool, and it's really cool to be supportive of my other modeling friends and just be really happy for them, and you know, return, you know, have the same treatment. Right, for me as well. And I think support is a big thing in anything you want to do in life.
Right.
You know, nothing's impossible.
Well, on that note, we will close out this issue of the Fort Mill Magazine podcast. We thank Brooke again for joining us, and we thank you for listening.
Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Facebook, and you can always go to fortmillmagazine.com.
And also our YouTube channel, Fort Mill Mag.
Yep, always new stuff going on there. So I guess we'll see you guys next week.
See you then.